What this tape is a self-eulogy. And I know it's different, but I wanted to put it together. The idea for this came back in 1988. I was on a flight from Bangkok, Thailand to Kathmandu, Nepal. I'm assuming we were flying over the Himalayas, and we had plane trouble. And the pilot came on and said that we were dumping fuel and that we might have problems. And although everybody was pretty calm, my mind kind of drifted there for a while till we were able to land safely. I got to thinking, what would my funeral be like? And then my mind kind of switched to, I wonder who would do the eulogy. And I kind of thought, I'd hate to have just some minister who didn't know me do a eulogy. So I thought I'll put together my own tape, and if somebody else wants to talk, that's fine too. What the situation is I'm in Grandma's house. I just sold my house on Shepherd Street a couple weeks ago. It's April 17th, 1993, 2 days after tax day. And I'm just staying here temporarily at Grandma's till I find out where I'm moving from here, what I'm going to buy. What I want to do with this tape, it's only going to be 18 minutes because the tape is only 18 minutes, but just talk a little bit about things that have had an effect on me and what I think my life has meant, and some of the main inputs that have affected me. Probably one of the most important, I would say, in my development has been a secure childhood. I don't really have that good of a memory. I have good memory about the particulars, but I don't have that good of a memory as far as what I was thinking a lot of the time. But I think I must have had a fairly secure childhood because I have pretty good memories, had a great family, and I think one of the main reasons I wanted to move back here over the years, and that I didn't want to move away to other teaching jobs outside of Ohio, or even outside of Columbus for that matter, is that I like the feeling that I have here in Columbus, and in Gahanna specifically, around Old Gahanna where I grew up. And so I think a lot of this leads me to believe that, I not only did I have a secure childhood, but I have, very positive feelings about it at levels that I can't even begin to understand. So that's probably one of the main things I think that affected me a lot. I would say there's probably a combination as far as things that are important to me would be my faith in God, my family, and somewhere in there would be the effect of church camp over the years of my life. Seems kind of strange to acknowledge a church camp as being so influential, but this is 1993, this will be my 28th year at church camp, and I would say it is a road, or has been a road, to understanding God and His work, but not the only road, obviously, but it's been a consistent road for me. And sometimes my mind will wander as to what life might have been like for me had I not had that camp. Much more important, though, I would say, is the effect of my family on my development, and most important would be that my faith in God, which all three of those variables, God, family, and camp, interplay with one another. I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the main, what I'll call stepping stones in my adult life that have brought me to where I am now, and I think will continue to be a strong foundation for me throughout the rest of my life. Into my adult years, after graduating from high school, I went to Capital University, and one of the things I find especially unique about that experience is that Bill and I talk about this from time to time, is that it was a great time. It was a wonderful time, both in the classroom, but most especially outside of the classroom. But we knew it at the time. I knew in my freshman year that this was meant to be a good time, not only academically but socially. And Bill and I, we lived it to the max. We made the most of it. And sometimes I'm disappointed when I see students in my teaching experience that are just looking forward to getting out and moving on. I realize that not everybody's going to have the same experience, but Capital was, I don't know how it could have been any better. We lived every day at about 150%. moving on out of Capitol, I went on into the Air Force, and that year and a half, or year and 12 days to be specific, in the Air Force was probably the best effect it had on me is it made me want to go to graduate school. That year in the service was really pretty boring. There really wasn't much going on. It was 1977, 1978. There was really not much of a mission, and I kind of felt like just a bureaucratic cog, and I know we only have limited years here on Earth, and I just didn't want to spend those years being a bureaucratic cog, if I read that right at the time. So I was inspired to find something else I wanted to do, and found that I was interested in the world of books and ideas, and so I pursued graduate school with a rigor. And that's been obviously the stepping stone for where I am now, but that was where it initially came from, was wanting to find something else beyond the Air Force. Graduate school, I would say, was an inward period for me from 1978 when I got out of the service till what I finished graduate school in 1982. But I would say that would be what I call the inward search. I was pretty much a sponge soaking up ideas, from classes, read a lot. I traveled some just around the Midwest. But that was a period for me of more of introspection, something that was unique. Doesn't really come up much these days, hasn't for a long time, but it was the years when I got out of the service in the fall of '78. I quit cutting my hair, most of you will remember, and I had long hair, and it got longer and longer. So I went, from 1978 till 1982 without a haircut, and that was really interesting. I really had an academic interest in understanding the role of image on how people interact with one another. Something I hadn't counted on was that how people interact with me started affecting how I interacted with myself, which was eventually led to the decision to go ahead and cut off my ponytail and move on. But that hair thing, I wouldn't suggest it for everybody, but it was enlightening for me, interesting. I still haven't figured it out, but it was it was something else. After graduate school, I finished up in '82. That was the period where I started traveling a lot. I basically got out of debt. Any extra money I could afford to spend, pretty much spent on traveling. Those of you that know me well, spent much time with me, know that I run a pretty tight ship financially, but travel opportunities were one thing that I didn't hesitate to spend money on. And so I would call this my outward search. If graduate school was my inward search, I would say traveling was my outward search. Went back into the Air Force in '82 in the reserves, and had a lot of travel opportunities there, and a chance not only to travel but to interact with people who travel for the government and see some of the things that are going on with the government, the military specifically, and a kind of an eye-opener, and has kind of enhanced my interest in, oh, look who's here. We just had a little pause in the tape just there when I said, look who's here. It was Mom and Dad stopping by for a spontaneous visit, which they've been here for about an hour. They just left, so I want to finish this, but somewhat ironic, but definitely appropriate that they would stop by, because that's a hallmark, I think, of life for our family in Gahanna, is having the occasional family visitor. Always welcomed, of course. But anyway, it's just ironic that they would just stop by like that. But really, our life, family life, has been full of that sort of thing. Just like right now, Susie lives within walking distance of me. Betsy does. Mom and Dad are just up off of Cherry Bottom, so they're not that far. When Grandma was alive, we'd see her frequently. So to have somebody stop by while I'm making this tape is, I think, somehow very, very fitting. Moving on, other things that have affected my life. Right now, I've pretty much settled into the faculty lifestyle over at Ohio Dominican, and I really like living where I want to live, doing what I want to do. But to be able to live here at home after years, down at University of Cincinnati and Miami University and Ohio University. It's still a lifestyle, even though I'm still in my 4th year here, where I still wake up sometimes and think to myself, I'm really glad I can live home without having to get up and drive 120 miles to work somewhere else. But I find it real comfortable. I think I'm little by little becoming I tell my students this, a typical college professor, whatever that means. But I feel myself moving towards the stereotype, my emphasis on strong organization and students following syllabus guidelines that I, in my death, will only tell you I used to break those rules all the time. So it's kind of like the former smoker that hates smokers now. I used to break rules all the time when I was a student. So I think I, for some reason, have, it's ironic, but not very much patience with students who operate outside of my guidelines. I don't mind sharing that now because obviously my final syllabus is in for my life. Nephews and nieces, that's been a treat having them around as far as, again, these just different stepping stones of life. If there's one regret I would have from dying young, if that should happen, I have no reason to believe it would, but it would be not being able to watch them grow older. Right now, Betsy is pregnant for her first. It's supposed to be here in a couple months. But watching brothers and sisters have kids and watching them grow up has been nothing less than a treat. Probably the nicest gesture anybody has extended to me in my life has been when Bill and Nancy named Jim Bob with my first name. That goes beyond meaning that can be described, but that was probably the nicest gesture I think anybody ever extended to me. Love life, I should probably touch on that. Only to mention it, I would say very healthy, and beyond that, to define it is to limit it, so I think I'll just leave that be. But I would say fairly representative of life in America in the 90s. Again, I think I'll just leave that alone since I was a fairly private person in life. I'll leave it fairly private in death. One thing I do want to touch on, totally different subject, is my thoughts on money. Those of you that spent much time with me know that I have a pretty good eye for dollars and saving them. From an early age I had that habit. What that was really about, I never really had a love of money. I never really viewed money as an end. I viewed money as a means to an end. That is, money was something I could use to get what I wanted, which usually wasn't buying things, but just being able to go to college, being able to travel, being able to do whatever I wanted to do. But that's how I viewed money. There was a degree of security there because obviously in a capitalist society, money is very important for economic security. Beyond that, though, one other major variable I found is that money gave me something to focus on. That is, I'm a fairly organized person, and I always believed in paying my fair share, never mooching or anything like that. But beyond that, I just got a kick out of getting a good deal. My Toyota's 10 years old now, and I just get a charge out of having an engine that runs right now 133,000 and doing a little body work. In fact, when I'm done with this, I'm going to go out and paint some areas. I just put some body plaster on. But I think it's given me something to focus on. It's kind of helped me keep my organizational skills honed. Tax time comes, I have all my receipts and records in good order. But as far as love of money, nah. I just liked the things I could do with it. One last thing, I'm kind of moving here towards closure, I wanted to mention is that whether I would die in the short term or whether it's 60, 70 years from now, one thing that I'm especially would want to convey is that I'm ready whenever that is. I have inner peace. I mentioned that to Bill when Grandma Sandusky died. We were visiting about death, and I said, I could leave tomorrow and I'd have nothing I would have done any differently. So for what that is worth, I do have, I think, a strong sense of inner peace, which I'll take back to, I think, having a secure childhood and loving family and a strong faith in God that I don't have any fears about what the hereafter life holds for me. And I would hope each of you in your own way and in your own time would come to that same inner peace. Not the same inner peace I've found. I think each of us is going to find our own unique inner peace, but that in your own way, in your own design, you'll find that inner peace. And if you found it already, that you'll be able to keep it, because that has been a very strong bottom line for me. One last question I guess I'll kind of leave with is, what does life mean? And I'll leave it as a question. That's my only question with this little eulogy, or self-eulogy, I'll call it. I don't know. I don't know what it means. It seems like the older I got, or the older I get, the less I know about the meaning of life. On one hand, there's so much pain and suffering, but on the other hand, there's a lot of good things. I suppose I could ask the question, has it been worth it? And I'd say for myself, definitely yes. Other people might provide a different answer, but yeah, I think it's been worth the effort. Isn't that strange to summarize life that way? But it's been worth it. I have no regrets about being here. And I look forward to a long, happy life. I'm sure there'll be trials and tribulations, but I look forward to being here years from now. But beyond that, I suppose I should sign off on this now and just kind of leave you with the thought that, I think there's some biblical line about from ashes to ashes and dust to dust. Even though we have our spiritual selves we relate to, I mean, we can look at the development of humankind over the years, and generations come and generations go, and I'll just be counted in that number. So, my best to you.
It's September 28, 2002, 9.5 years since our first installment. It is September 28, 2002, and I wanted to put another installment in there about, 9.5 years since I first made the tape, because the story of my life would not be complete without adding Brian in here, my son and best buddy pal. The answer to many of life's unanswered questions, and certainly the center of our family life together, the icing on the cake for the tape, and our family life together. I say hi? Yay! All men.
Daddy, can you go get the TV? See TV, Daddy, on chair?